Hey everyone, and welcome. In today's study, brought to you by the You Need Faith in Jesus team, we are jumping right into Psalm 119. We're going to tackle a question that, let's be honest, everyone has asked at some point. How on earth do we live a pure life? And in the world we live in today, that question feels bigger and more important than ever. I mean, really, think about it. With all the noise, all the distractions, all the temptations literally at our fingertips, how can anyone, especially a young person, keep their way pure? It's a huge question, right? But the amazing thing is, the Bible gives us a very clear answer. It doesn't leave us hanging. So here's our game plan. We're going to start with that big question. Then we'll look at the foundation that has to be built in our hearts. From there, we'll see how that inner reality shows up in our actions, understand the kind of joyful commitment it takes, and then wrap it all up with a practical path for you to follow. Okay, let's get right into it. Part 1, the question that kicks this whole thing off. The psalmist asks, "Wherewithal shall a young man cleanse his way?" And what's so incredible is that he doesn't pause for effect. The answer comes in the very same breath, by taking heed thereto according to thy word. Boom. It's direct, it's singular, and it is absolutely powerful. So let's break that down. This is really a two-part process. First, taking heed. That means we have to actually pay attention. We've got to be vigilant to look at our own lives. And second, we have to do that according to thy word. We use the Bible as our guide, our standard, our measuring stick. The big takeaway here? Purity is never an accident. It's not something we can just stumble into. It's got to be intentional. All right, now let's go a layer deeper, because any real, lasting change on the outside has to start on the inside, right? This next part is all about building that foundation in the heart. The desire for a pure life, it starts with this kind of passion. With my whole heart have I sought thee. This isn't a casual, Sunday-only thing. It's an all-in, everything I've got commitment. But then, look at the very next line. It's this humble prayer, "Oh, let me not wander." I love that. It shows this perfect balance of our passionate effort, combined with knowing we absolutely need God's help to stay on track. And here it is, the practical strategy. The psalmist says, "Thy word have I hid in mine heart." And the purpose couldn't be clearer, that I might not sin against thee. So what does that actually look like, to hide God's word in your heart? This is so much more than just memorizing verses for a quiz. It's about treasuring God's word. It's about meditating on it, thinking about it, and letting it become a part of who you are. The classic example, right, is Joseph. When he was tempted, his instant reaction was, "How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God?" That's what it looks like when the word is already hidden deep inside. After making that deep commitment, the psalmist just bursts into praise. "Blessed art thou, O Lord." But watch this. That worship immediately turns back into a request. "Teach me thy statutes." It's so humble. He knows he can't figure this out on his own. He needs God, the author of the book, to be his teacher. So once that inner foundation is getting built, what happens? Well, it can't just stay inside. It has to come out. It naturally overflows into our actions, into our everyday lives. It's a simple principle, isn't it? What we treasure in our hearts is what we end up talking about. "With my lips have I declared." It just happens. Jesus said it best. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. What you fill your heart with is eventually going to spill out in your conversations. Now, this is a radical statement. I mean, think about it. The psalmist is saying that he finds as much joy in following God's word as someone else would find in having all riches. In our world, that's just completely upside down. It's a totally different source of happiness. And let's just put them side by side. The joy that comes from money, it's fleeting, it's external, and honestly, it usually brings a ton of anxiety with it. But the joy from God's word, it's eternal, it's internal, no one can take it from you. And it brings a kind of peace and joy that money could never, ever buy. This totally reframes obedience. It's not a chore, it becomes a joy. So how do we grow in that kind of joy? How do we keep it? Well, the psalmist points to a mental discipline. "I will meditate in thy precepts." That focused thinking is what leads to having respect, or this deep admiration for God's ways. And we have to be crystal clear on what we mean by meditation here. This is not about emptying your mind and trying to think about nothing. No, biblical meditation is the exact opposite. It's about actively filling your mind with God's truth, chewing on it, thinking deeply about what it means and how it applies to your actual life. It's what God told Joshua to do to be successful.
And all of this builds to this fantastic resolution that ties everything together, our feelings and our memory. Listen to this. I will delight myself in thy statutes. I will not forget thy word. Do you see that connection? He's making a deliberate choice to find his joy, his satisfaction, his pleasure in God's word. And there's a powerful result of that choice.
Because here's the secret. Delight leads to remembrance. Think about it. We don't easily forget the things we truly enjoy, right? When we choose to find our delight in God's word, remembering it stops being a chore. It becomes the natural, easy result of our love for it. Okay, so let's land the plane. We've walked through these amazing verses. Now let's boil it all down into a clear, actionable path that you can literally start walking on today. So here it is. This is the path. First, we seek God wholeheartedly, all in. Then, we treasure his word within, making it part of us. We have to ask God to be your teacher, humbly coming to him for wisdom. That leads us to speak his truth openly, letting it just bubble up and out of us. Then we learn to rejoice in his ways, finding a joy better than any earthly treasure. And we keep it all going as we meditate on his word, constantly filling our minds with his truth. And that brings us right here to a final question just for you. After all this, what is the one verse you're going to choose to hide in your heart this week? Because this path to purity, well, it's intentional, and it can start for you right now.